Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Dumbledore's big plan, Goblet of Fire.
Oh man, last usage of riddles too.
I know. Yeah. We're gonna have to come up with like a whole new word for Order of the Phoenix, right?
How are we gonna find another word
that means questions or puzzles or mysteries or secrets or something?
The problem is we like front loaded with all the really good words, so by the time we get to like Deathly Hallows, it's just like in the inquiries inside
the Deathly Hallows. Yeah, we'll get something. Riddles was so good because it was like Tom Riddle.
It was, and then we also kick off with literally the riddle house.
The Sphinx has a riddle. Riddles was a really good one for this one.
Here's my prediction alert, just kind of as like we're generally giving ourselves a little bit of time to take a step back and sort of like reflect on Goblet of Fire as like a tome, as its own installment. I am so curious to see, because I feel like here's what my thinking is. I have always felt that like through like my memory, through nostalgia, through like whatever, like I've always said like Goblet of Fire is like my favorite book in the series.
Yeah.
And I do still think that like upon getting to the last page, I'm like, what a good time. What a good time. Like there's so much that happens. I then on the flip side think that a lot of people would operate under the assumption that Order of the Phoenix is a little sullen. Like
Harry's so angry the whole time.
You're getting a very angsty teenager vibe that like oftentimes leads to like whenever Ron and Hermione are kind of having like their various spats, it's like one thing because Harry always doesn't, like, it seems like that's like beneath him a little bit. Like he's just like, guys, can you not do this? Like, but this is going to be like the one where I feel like Harry gets very like hot tempered himself. However, I think for the purposes of Gryffindor, I think Order of the Phoenix stands to be a very powerful read through.
I mean, I think you're right. I'm very excited to dive into it because it's like, it's so thick. Like each chapter is like at least 20 pages or something.
Yeah. So there's
a lot to unpack.
Expect long episodes ahead. The other kind of fun detail that I just discovered as I was kind of like combing through all the various chapters that we have in front of us as we look forward to the rest of this experience that is the Through the Gryffindor, read through, is that we have exactly 100, starting with chapter 1, Dudley Demented and Order of the Phoenix. There are exactly 104 chapters left.
Oh, so that's like 2 years.
52 weeks in a year, which means that we have 2 years left, which like when we started this project back in, what was it, like October of 2023, it felt like we'll have runway forever. Like, there's so many chapters. This will take so long. And sure enough, it has. And yet it feels like it's flying by right before our eyes.
Right. Well, then the other thing is that like by the time we get to that point, like the TV show will have been out for what, like a year at least?
A year at least. Yeah. I think that there's a strong possibility that we will have gone through all of Sorcerer's Stone and maybe be anticipating Chamber of Secrets somewhere in that capacity, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really unbelievable just to think like, what this roadmap and everything that like lies before us still will hold. But all that being said, now it's time to not look forward, but instead look back over Goblet of Fire and try to break down one of our basically like favorite theories as it pertains to the primary Harry Potter canon. Like we oftentimes have spin-off situations like what if Harry was in Slytherin, but it's like that's not canon. That's just a fun thought experiment. This is like Dumbledore's big plan is the analysis of the story.
Right.
It's understanding the characters to their cores, understanding their motivations and where each of their like where their motivations come from based on where they are in the story and what information they have at specific times.
Yes, and like then how like Dumbledore specifically is reacting to the ever unfolding plans of Voldemort and Harry's own like life at school and at the Dursleys and all of that. So yeah, let's look here at Dumbledore's big plan.
Yeah, Goblet of Fire edition.
Yeah. Well, this is also the one where it becomes like like the first three, it's sort of like, well, did Dumbledore put the obstacle course there specifically for Harry? Like, did he intend for Gilderoy? Did he hire Gilderoy just to teach Harry a lesson? It's like, those are where it feels like theory. It's like I think, yes, absolutely. I believe those things. But here is where it's like, whether you believe it or not, like we have the gleam in Goblet of Fire, and it's like, you 100% for sure know that Dumbledore is doing things to prepare Harry for Voldemort.
Precisely that, yes. And so like we've made an entire video that has outlined one sentence in particular as the single most important sentence in all of Harry Potter, and it's the gleam,
especially as it pertains to Dumbledore's big plan.
Especially as it pertains to Dumbledore's big plan. But like the gleam of triumph that happens when Dumbledore discovers that Harry has taken Voldemort's blood Voldemort has taken Harry's blood as part of his resurrection process. That is the moment where like Dumbledore like there's this major like, oh my gosh, like Harry gets to live. Because that happened. There's a lot of work left to be done. I can't celebrate too soon. I still have to continue to prepare him, which we will see, in everything that comes, coming down the line. But that is the moment where that Dumbledore has always known that Harry was going to have to die, and that meant he wasn't going to have to die.
Yeah.
So that's vitally important. But then the other kind of strange thing about Goblet of Fire as a collection, or a piece of the collection rather, is it's really Voldemort's big plan.
Right.
It's the classic Empire Strikes Back thing. It's like the villains win. The middle installment. And that's really like I think it's funny. I went back to our original script and I was reading through it. And we had a joke where it's like, technically you could really call or title this episode Voldemort's Big Plan, but then there's nothing to explain because that is the plot of the story.
That's the plot of the story. That's what we were reading the whole time.
Right. So it's like in a world where you're looking at a super high powered wizard that is pulling all of the strings to try to make specific outcomes happen, like that is Lord Voldemort being collected by Wormtail and basically procuring or bringing with him Nagini, who he is like using to help return to a rudimentary body. It's the discovery of the existence of Barty Crouch Jr. via Bertha Jorkins.
Yeah, and the planning of the Triwizard Cup, and figuring out that he wants Harry and that Mad-Eye Moody's going to be teaching at the school and they need to swap bodies with him, and everything that Barty Crouch Jr. then does once he gets to Hogwarts. That's all Voldemort's big plan to get Harry's blood to bring his body back, which he does.
Which he does.
Yes.
Although the intention on that very evening is to, one, kill Harry, and B, not have anybody know he's returned.
Yes. Yes. So in those ways, he loses. Like that's always the thing. Like even like the Empire Strikes Back. It's like the Empire wins. They cut off Luke's hand. They capture Han Solo. They take over Cloud City.
Right. Yes.
They run the rebels out of Hoth or whatever. But you know what? Luke does train with Yoda. And he learns the truth about his father being Anakin Skywalker. And that is information he ultimately is able to use to win the entire war.
Right.
So,
yes. Yep, exactly.
It's like very hollow, shallow victories.
Right. Yes. But there are moments that, like, at the very least, when the books were coming out themselves, like, you finish Goblet of Fire, you're going to have at least a year until Order of the Phoenix is in your hands, which means you have a whole year just to be like, well, now Voldemort's back full power. What happens next?
Right.
We're screwed.
I know. What's so funny too is that like Voldemort comes back and you're like looking forward to the next book. Like, oh man, Voldemort is going to be on the hunt, and then you're like, Umbridge.
No,
Voldemort's barely in this book. Yeah.
Maybe that's the real thing with Umbridge is that you're like, okay, finally, we're going to get some proper like Voldemort.
Yeah.
Who
is this?
She's dressed in all pink. She loves cats.
Toad.
I don't like her.
Worse?
I don't like her. Worse? Yeah. How is this possible?
I think the other thing about Umbridge that makes her so bad is that like we always talk about how like no one has an evil Dark Lord in their life, but they probably have like an overbearing person in their life like Umbridge.
Yes,
like you've maybe met someone maybe not quite as extreme as her, but of that flavor. But I think the thing that makes it like really is that she is at Hogwarts. She is the bad guy, and she is present at all times for Harry in a way that Voldemort even never is, you know?
It's true. It's true. And it's like, all Voldemort wants to do is kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like whatever, basic stuff. Like Umbridge, on the other hand, is like taking away the things that he loves.
Right.
And she's physically harming him.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, just such an aggressive abuse of power in a way that makes everybody feel helpless. And it's just, they're so tangible. They're so, they're so the worst, which I mean, everybody who is this far into the saga knows why Umbridge is the worst, but still, I'm sure that we're not going to have any shortage of reasons to turn her into a literary punching bag for the next, 38 weeks.
We're going to be talking about Umbridge a lot here in the very near future. But just because we can call this one Voldemort's big plan doesn't mean you can't tell what Dumbledore's plans were, even though a lot of them go sideways.
That's exactly right. Yes. So one of the big things that we get with Goblet of Fire, and one of the things that you're going to see introduced properly for the first time, is the wider wizarding world.
Right. So you've got maybe 3 or 4 main big points. You could probably tie some of them together here. But the things Dumbledore is going to be trying to do are expanding Harry's worldview. Right. Demonstrating the power of unity. That one's going to go really sideways. Trying to teach Harry about the unforgivable curses, and then try and show Harry why or what it was like last time Voldemort was in power. And all of these things are working together because going into the book, Dumbledore still believes he's raising Harry for slaughter.
Precisely.
Right. He doesn't have the gleam yet.
He doesn't have the gleam. And that's the really meticulous task. And it's the reason that Dumbledore's big plan exists in the first place, is that what Dumbledore is tasked with doing is basically being the caretaker to the subject of the prophecy. So he is, or what is it called? When you're the person who has to enact a family member's will or manage their estate or something. It's like that's Dumbledore.
Right.
He has to do all the legwork, but all of it has to be Harry that ultimately has to be in all the right spots at all the right moments. And you see this ultimately culminate with Deathly Hallows and the eye open at the close. It's sort of Harry, the Resurrection Stone will not reveal itself via the snitch until Harry is ready to die.
Right.
And he won't be ready to die until he has been given all of the information in the right order at the right moments so that he can go and face death.
And he has to understand that it's not just about Harry defeating Voldemort. It is about Harry defeating, it's about Voldemort not taking over the entire world. He's not just fighting to save himself. He doesn't need to kill Voldemort so Voldemort won't kill him.
Right.
Voldemort needs to be defeated so that he won't destroy the entire world.
Yeah. And you have completely competing ideologies too, with Harry, who is trying to fight to save everybody, and Voldemort, who is ultimately fighting to make himself immortal.
Right.
So polar opposites in terms of what is driving both of these characters forward. But one of the most vital things, especially as we enter Goblet of Fire, for Dumbledore to do is to present to Harry, to start crafting the boy who can become the man who can face and welcome death.
Right.
And where Harry is at this point in time coming into the saga is he's spent most of his time in the wizarding world. Most of what he's been exposed to is going to be Hogwarts or adjacent properties. So we can extend to Hogsmeade a little bit in year 3, where he'd be able to go out and explore
although he's not even supposed to go.
He's not even supposed to go. So he doesn't even have full license to be there. And then otherwise, of course, we've got Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
And then he's limited to, the Burrow, friends' houses. So it's the sliver of the wizarding world he's been able to see is largely Hogwarts. But then I would even go further to narrow that view to pretty much Gryffindor.
Right.
He spends most of his time around his fellow Gryffindors. He hasn't really broadened, into the point where we'll see him go in say Order of the Phoenix, where he's recruiting members from
the other, two houses.
Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. And in that time where he's creating a version of Harry who is going to go on to be remarkably brave, we've seen him become the ultimate Gryffindor, right?
Yes, absolutely.
He's won the House Cup 3 times. He pulled the Sword of Gryffindor. He won the Inter-House Quidditch Champion in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
He's been awarded special services to the school for the defeat of the Basilisk. It's Harry has had some resume items.
He's had some resume items for sure, but his worldview is limited, and even his experience with Voldemort, even though he's defeated him twice at this point, or 3 times, I guess, if you want to be, baby Harry as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, and why not?
Yeah, why not? Sorry, he's defeated him 3 times at this point. But since his reintroduction, he's beaten him as Quirrell and then as the Diary.
Right.
But both of those have been very, like, Voldemort's goals have not been to take, it's like just get his body back or kill Harry. Like, those have been his goals. And so, like, Harry's worldview is limited to, school and Gryffindor. It is not, it's easy, I think, if you're Dumbledore, to think that Harry is, like, fighting, the battle is specifically between Harry and Voldemort, or Voldemort's like terror might only be able to reign towards like Hogwarts or like Britain, but it's not true. It's massive. The Wizarding World is way bigger than Harry has been able to see it so far.
Right.
And Dumbledore cannot, the thing is, he can't tell Harry he has to die. Like, he can't tell Harry eventually you're going to have to sacrifice yourself, because then it won't work. Like, Harry has to, he can show him where the cliff is, but Harry has to walk up to there, understand what the decision is, and make it for himself. And that is what Dumbledore has to like build around him. And so that's going to start with 2 big events this year: the Quidditch World Cup and the Triwizard Tournament.
Right. And so you might be sitting there thinking like, well, there's no way in the world Dumbledore orchestrated the Quidditch World Cup just for the benefactor of Harry. And of course that's true.
That's true.
The Quidditch World Cup is just something that happens on its own.
Happening anyway.
Harry's attendance, however, I think you can absolutely go through and slice through a bunch of stuff that largely doesn't make sense in terms of how Harry gets to go, and in the way in which like it's via the Weasleys, who extend invitation because Arthur's been able to acquire tickets through his connections at work.
Yeah.
And basically that means that Harry gets to go with the Weasleys and participate and be involved with not just the Quidditch game itself, which involves, huge representation from Ireland and Bulgaria, but of course just the greater
Wizarding World.
100,000
wizards.
100,000 wizards.
Yeah.
So people from all over. You get to go and do the camping aspect, which is just sort of like getting to like see wizards really on like proud display. Like, it's like Arthur says, they like to show off.
They like to show off when they all get together.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that doesn't make sense about that whole situation is that the explanation we get is that Arthur is gifted these 10 tickets.
10 tickets.
To the top box. At
box.
The most popular event in the entire Wizarding world. He's there with like, the Malfoys. He's there with the other ministers of magic. We're talking world leaders.
And
the Weasleys.
And the guy commentating the match himself.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's like, and I think if you were to put this into, if you could even attempt to compare it to like a non-Wizarding World, real world event, the Super Bowl has to be the next closest thing.
It has to be the next closest thing. But this would be like getting to go to the Super Bowl and sitting next to Troy Aikman and the president while you watch the game.
Precisely. Yeah.
It's like no, that's not a thing.
No, like box seats. I think we did the math based on when the original episode came out. I think box seats to the Super Bowl back then were $60,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And that's just like generic box seats, not the like you are inside of the room with the most important people. Right. Seats.
Right. So but here it's like it sounds like whatever. It's like it gets worse the more you think about it. Because consider who, and it's not like, oh, well, maybe it's different in the Wizarding world, because it's not. It's not, because when the Malfoys run into them going up to the top box, Lucius says to him, like, good Lord, the top box? Like, this must have cost you must have had to like sell your house to get up here.
I think he even says that he doesn't think that the sale of the borough would even
get
the amount of money necessary to pay for these tickets.
And like the thing is, it's like maybe Malfoy's just being condescending. 1,000,000% he is. But I also think he is correct.
There must be some factual basis for what he is saying. Like it's a very big deal. And even from like Lucius's perspective, I'm sure he's very frustrated that he probably did pay what has to be a very handsome amount of money. Mm-hmm. And then there's Arthur, his arch nemesis from the Ministry, who's there with, not just like his own kids, but like additional kids as well.
Yeah. So like they are very expensive seats. They are amazing seats. And then you consider the source, right? Like because the circumstances surrounding that, just the circumstances before we even get to the source. The reason that Arthur gets these tickets at all is because Ludo Bagman's brother got into a spot of trouble with a lawnmower that Arthur apparently smoothed over.
Yeah, so Otto Bagman.
Arthur helps Otto Bagman with a lawnmower problem. Arthur, whose entire job is not even considered important enough by the ministry to have more than 2 people in it. But apparently, this particular smoothing over was so big that it was worth 10 tickets to the top box at the Quidditch World Cup.
Right.
Right.
And the other thing that makes absolutely no sense about this is that one of the other gigantic plot lines, the other massive red herring throughout the entire story is the character of Ludo Bagman himself.
Yes.
And the whole thing about Ludo is that he oddly takes this very unusual interest in Harry. And the whole time you're just sort of like, okay, so somebody unknowingly put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire. And now there's this big ministry official who for some reason seems to be obsessed with Harry and his success inside of the games. What we ultimately learn is that Ludo is there and he is vying for Harry's success, but it's specifically because he's gotten himself into extremely dangerous gambling debt with the goblins and needs gold.
Right.
And he doesn't have any gold, but these seats would have been worth a huge
amount of gold. This is where it really stops making sense, because Ludo Bagman is desperate for cash, and he has at least, I don't even know, so much value in these tickets, at least a house's worth of value in the tickets.
Right.
Apparently, that he could sell to pay back the goblins. And instead, he gives them to Arthur Weasley for a favor he's twice removed from.
Right. Yeah.
Makes no sense. And you're like, but wait a second. How is Dumbledore tied into this? Well, glad you asked, because Ludo Bagman, Barty Crouch Sr., Igor Karkaroff, Madame Maxine, and Dumbledore have been planning the Triwizard Tournament together for months.
And that's something that we're going to know, because when you flash back, or when you flash forward, I guess, to a flashback of Barty Crouch Sr. walking through the woods when he's kind of his mind has effectively become addled, through the Imperius curse. He is reciting information about Karkaroff says he's bringing 12, I better contact Madame Maxine to make sure that she's doing this. And when Harry's name comes out of the Goblet of Fire and they're in that chamber, beyond the Great Hall, Karkaroff comes in and he's like, all those months of plannings, all those conversations and concessions.
Right.
We thought this was going to be fair. And it's like, that these guys have all been sitting in the same room together for months and months and months on end in order to set up this particular occasion, which means Dumbledore had plentiful access to someone at the Ministry of Magic who had the unique ability to place Harry in a unique position to attend the Quidditch World Cup.
Yes. And that is why we believe that Ludo Bagman gives Arthur Weasley 10 tickets to the top box for a favor with a lawnmower instead of selling the tickets to get him out of his gambling debt.
Right. And it all comes down, and it's not about Harry's enjoyment of Quidditch, which I'm sure on some level, as much as...
But it's not.
It's not. Because I was going to say, a huge part of what Dumbledore keeps telling Harry time and time again, every time he doesn't give him the whole story, is that he wanted Harry to be allowed a childhood. He wanted Harry to be allowed, to not have to have the full weight, the full burden of what he is supposed to do on his shoulders the whole time. And so it's and Quidditch is something Harry loves. And so this is yes, it is a great opportunity to go and do something you love. And we bring it up all the time, but it's the line that Dumbledore gives in King's Cross Station and Deathly Hallows, where he's of house elves and children's tales. It's these are the things that Voldemort knows not. Sport. Just
sports.
Fun. These are the things Voldemort knows not. And so on some level, I think Dumbledore values that enough to where this is a nice 1-2 punch, because not only does Harry get to go and have just what is otherwise a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with his closest friends, but he also is exposed then to massive representations from Ireland and Bulgaria and people the world over, and
even their heads of state.
Yeah. And also while they're there, I think they overhear students from Beauxbaton talking about students from Hogwarts, and that's when we learn that there's other schools. So everything that Harry is seeing, this is who Dumbledore is showing Harry who he's fighting for.
Right.
These are the people whose lives will be so badly damaged by a world where Voldemort rises to extreme power like we've never seen before.
It almost even works out nicely, and obviously it's not something Dumbledore plans, but then they're at the Quidditch World Cup during the parties afterward where the whole world is celebrating the Dark Mark appears, and sure enough, it causes just the Dark Mark appearing at the Quidditch World Cup causes mayhem for months at the Ministry afterwards.
Yes, it definitely does.
And that's without Voldemort even being back.
Right. And that's really like, just our first sampling as the reader as to like what life looked like and how much fear this instills in people. So obviously Dumbledore doesn't plan for the Dark Mark to go off on that particular evening, but it is something that helps, kind of illustrate the point.
Right. So there you go. That's Dumbledore's first planned exposure for Harry to the greater wizarding world. The second one he has way more control over, or so he thinks, and that is, I think Dumbledore is behind wanting to bring back the Triwizard Cup, specifically so that Harry can be exposed to Durmstrang and Beauxbaton and have it for a couple reasons. One, to introduce himself to foreign wizards and maybe forge friendships in that way, because he has a whole speech about that at the end and unity and all that. But the other thing is that as much as Dumbledore 1,000% wants Harry in Gryffindor, the Slytherins are sort of like the bad guys in the books, but Dumbledore doesn't want that. He doesn't think less of the Slytherin students. In his perfect world, all four houses exist harmoniously. It's like what the Sorting Hat says.
I think it's exactly what the Sorting Hat says, and it's what we're going to see in. I think it's in Order of the Phoenix, where the Sorting Hat's new song is all about just we are as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided.
Right.
And it's the sentiment that Dumbledore is going to express himself at the end of Goblet of Fire when he's talking about Cedric's death. There's a really good quote. Do you have it? Do you want to?
I think I do. Yeah. I say to you all once again, in the light of Lord Voldemort's return, we are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Lord Voldemort's gift for spreading discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. Differences of habit and language are nothing at all if our aims are identical and our hearts are open.
Right. So basically, I think that if you're trying to take the broad strokes, if you think about Harry in Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, the broad strokes were there's a wizarding world at all. This is Diagon Alley. You go to school at Hogwarts. You are in Gryffindor house. Now that we've graduated up to Goblet of Fire, it's this is the wizarding world. These are other nations. These are other representations. Here is Hogwarts. Hogwarts is your home. Your home includes all four houses that belong here. So I think you're exactly right. I think the Triwizard Tournament, from Dumbledore's perspective, is not only a way to bring in, people from different schools to get exposure to them, to forge those relationships, to understand one another, and that it's this unity is something worth fighting for. But also, the idea from Dumbledore's perspective is that the Triwizard Tournament is a great opportunity for a Hogwarts champion's name that will unify Hogwarts to come out of the cup.
Right.
So it's the idea is that Cedric's name comes out, and then you see Draco Malfoy wearing Support Cedric Diggory badges. This is a notorious Slytherin bully actively wearing the colors of a wholly good Hufflepuff boy.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen at Hogwarts as much as we would like for it to.
Right. So it starts out working that we think is Dumbledore's plan. And it's the same thing. It's a win-win. It's a double whammy, because ideally Harry will get to just be friends with the other Durmstrang or Beauxbaton students.
Right.
But then in the meantime, all four houses have to be united under the Hogwarts champion, and it almost works. Cedric comes out, everyone could have been go Hogwarts. Yeah, we're all together in this. And you could see hey, maybe some of the Slytherins and the Gryffindors or the other houses actually start being more friends and stuff,
Right. Y'all, we need to take a brief pause to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Shopify. Okay, so story time. Back in the day, Little Ben was all about business ideas. I remember taking produce from our own fridge and setting it up as a makeshift grocery store on the sidewalk in front of our house. And our neighbor actually bought an apple, but in hindsight, I think that maybe she was just being polite because she gave me $5 for it, and apples don't really cost that much. But as I grew up, this aspiration never really went away. I always hoped that I could run my own business, and now we get to do that very thing. But what you might not know is just how much data goes into running a business. And there's no better way to steer the company ship wrong than by not understanding that data. But also no better way to have it neatly organized and placed in convenient charts than by using Shopify. Shopify is like a turnkey business partner that never sleeps, never gets angry, just shows up every single day with brand new information to help you make the best decisions for your company. So whether you're hucking apples, spitting theories, or scrubbing fish bowls, all things I've also done, you can benefit from Shopify. So turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Griffin. That's shopify.com/Griffin. One last time for safety, shopify.com/Griffin. Link in the description down below. Cha-ching.
But then it works for like 30 seconds, and then Harry's name comes out of the goblet too, and it goes. It turns to take a real 180 and divides people even further.
Well, and here's an interesting question for you as well, is that we know it's Dumbledore himself who draws the age line, basically restricting you have to be at least the age of 17 or older in order to compete in the games.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I would have in the back of my mind is almost like, does Dumbledore wonder? It's like, if you look at Harry's track record, it's like he has faced down more dark stuff than any other student at the school, hard stop. Like, there's just no comparison. It's like Cedric may have been taught more from his books. He may have more time to practice, that sort of thing. Does Dumbledore think with no age line in the world where Harry puts his name in that it would come out?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, so the age line itself administered by Dumbledore is to ensure Harry's non-participation in the games.
Right.
Because otherwise he would be chosen champion because he deserves it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, so when his name comes out, it's like, come on, I had a way to stop this.
I did this, but it's what he says. Lord Voldemort's gift for spreading discord and enmity is very great. And it's like, this is just his plan, his agent working from afar, and sure enough, boom, divides people.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. So then all of a sudden you got this weird situation where like Hogwarts has the true champion, and like any other instance in life ever where there is the opportunity for division will occur. And you've got the situation where it's like either you're a Gryffindor and you think Harry's cool because he somehow managed to do it, or you're the rest of the school and you hate Harry for doing this because it's taking away from Cedric's properly earned glory.
Yeah.
And so it's like you've basically got the same problem that we were trying to avoid, which is the Ravenclaws, Hufflepuffs, and Slytherins are all united against Gryffindor.
Right.
And so the Gryffindors, of course, are going to support Harry because they're Gryffindors. But everybody else is going to be irritated.
Right.
And so it's like the plan instantly backfires.
Yes. Yeah. So that is unfortunate in that regard. And then you'd think that Cedric dying might be that he tries to save it. He tries to like, when Cedric dies, Dumbledore tries to be like, look, we all have to stand together now because this is what happens. But it's like, it's too late because now he's back. And now the Slytherins they didn't have the chance they needed to like bond with the rest of the students.
Right. So it feels like a, almost like you had like a brief window to build the bridge and the window closed too quickly and the bridge was incomplete. And therefore it's unable to be, it holds no weight.
Right. Yeah. Now all those kids are heading home to their Death Eater parents and not going to be so good. So then the next step, though, is Dumbledore making sure that Harry is educated about the unforgivable curses. Because I know we've talked about this plenty of times. Like, does Dumbledore know that Moody or Barty Crouch Jr. is putting the like Imperious curse on his students? Does he even know that he's teaching them these curses? Like, is he okay with it? Like, I think Moody or Barty Crouch says, Professor Dumbledore's got a higher opinion of your nerves. He reckons you can cope. And I say the sooner you know what you're up against, the better. And it's like, you like when you first hear it, you think he's telling the truth. And then you find out it's Barty Crouch Jr. and you're like, well, was he telling the truth? But like, I actually think he is telling the truth. I think Dumbledore specifically wants him teaching Harry these curses because I think it is sooner than he would have liked, but he now has new information. There is a new piece on the table, which is the prophecy from Trelawney the previous year that Servant will reunite with Master and revive Voldemort.
Right.
Like now he knows that's in action. Dumbledore is reading the signs. It's like what Sirius is talking about is like Bertha Jorkins went missing. Frank Bryce is dead. Like there's weird stuff happening. There were Death Eaters at the World Cup. The Dark Mark appeared in the air. Harry's name is in the Goblet of Fire. Like stuff is going down. We are on the clock now. Like the game is afoot. And because of that, he's like, I wouldn't have liked you to have learned this early, but I'm going to need you to go ahead and learn about this stuff now because it's about to come into play faster than we think.
Yeah, and I absolutely think you're right because and it's strange too with Moody because there are a couple of things that, especially once you know the truth about who Moody actually is, you're sort of like, how much does and how much doesn't Dumbledore know? And obviously the spells is one question, but the other is like the searching of all of the other teachers' classrooms, which Moody claims he's done, but really what he's using is it as an excuse for stealing from Snape's storeroom.
Yeah.
And that really is like one of those questions where it's like, is Snape too proud to go to Dumbledore and be like, you did not have him search my office, like whatever. And Dumbledore, to which I can only imagine Dumbledore would be like, no, I did not have him do that. He did that? Like, and then it would like, be a bit of a foil and you're kind of like, well, that's odd. Like, how does all that work?
Well, yeah. And it's like, he masks it by being like, Dumbledore's very interested who put that boy's name in the Goblet of Fire, It's like... Leave no stone unturned or something.
Exactly.
That's what he would say is like, you told me to find out who it was. And whatever.
Yes. Like he's able to leverage Moody's erratic behavior in a way that will ultimately fit.
Yeah.
If actually questioned about it, but that's only if everybody isn't too proud to go and ask Dumbledore, like, hey.
Yeah. Which they are.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. When it comes to the unforgivable curses, it's like, this is a vital piece of information. This is the first time that Harry and we, the reader, learn the names of these 3 spells in particular, and one of them is of extraordinary note because it is the killing curse that produced the green light that we have already been referenced to, that Harry can remember from his childhood, and it is the unblockable killing curse.
Yeah.
And that is something that Harry needs to know because it's exactly what Moody says, is you need to know what you're up against, and that is what you're up against.
Yeah.
That is the literal answer. And then in the graveyard, if Dumbledore's assumption is that this is what Voldemort will use on Harry, he's exactly correct because he uses all 3 of them on Harry in the graveyard.
Yes. Yes, he does. And then it's like, I think even Dumbledore might have even you want to think that like if there's no way Dumbledore doesn't know that students are being put under the Imperius Curse because even after like Moody's first lesson with the twins, it's like how the lesson went is like spreading through like wildfire throughout the school. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. He's so edgy. He's like an amazing teacher or whatever.
He's been there, man.
Right. And then Harry, even back in book 1, says to like Ron and Hermione, he's like, I think he knows pretty much that everything that goes on in the school, more or less, Dumbledore.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I think you're right. And Harry's talking about way more vague things than teachers putting unforgivable curses on the students.
Right. Right, yes.
And it's like, you see, like when Umbridge makes like a move towards Marietta Edgecombe, like he rises out of his seat. He's like, whoa there, Missy.
Right.
I'm about to smite you if you touch one finger on that girl.
Exactly.
And it's like, this is someone putting an unforgivable curse on your students.
Right.
Like if it's not okay, you're going to hear about it.
That's it. That's it. Yep. Absolutely correct. So yeah, I think that's a very big one. It's huge for Harry in terms of knowing exactly what lies before him, the kinds of dangers that extend beyond, the jelly legs jinx and the, like all the kind of like, very high schoolish type of things that students may do to one another. It's like, no. Those are toys. These are weapons.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But it pays off. So like Harry, and it's like, I think Dumbledore knows that Harry will be able to fight the Imperius Curse because he's like, he knows, like he saw what Harry saw in the mirror and he knows that, we know that it takes like strength of character to fight the Imperius Curse, and we know Dumbledore knows Harry has that, but it doesn't mean that you might not want a few practice rounds just to kind of get the hang of it.
True.
Yeah. But it totally pays off because Harry does throw it off pretty quickly after Moody puts it on him, and then later on when Voldemort puts it on him, he shakes it off immediately.
Yeah, it's no chance. Yeah.
So I think in that way, Dumbledore's plan actually does pay off, and he's having to teach him about the unforgivable curses just way sooner than he intended to, but that's, adjusting to the game. And then the other big thing he does is showing Harry what the wizarding world was like the last time Voldemort was powerful. And this is going to tie back into like the whole unity thing. And like how you've got to stay together because Voldemort is very good at separating people and turning people against each other in every single walk of life. Whether they're on the bad side, the good side, or an innocent bystander, they will all be affected if we cannot find ways to like have bonds of trust and friendship. And the way he does this is by leaving the pensive open.
Yeah. The
accidentally.
The pensive situation, and it was very interesting to kind of go through that chapter a little bit because it's sort of like, wait a second, like that was way too useful for Harry, and it doesn't seem very likely at all, for Dumbledore to have just left the cabinet door askew.
Yeah,
with such vital details. So it's like it almost feels a little bit like the opportunity arose in real time, and he's sort of like, okay, I know what curiosity will do to someone.
Yeah,
and he's gonna come over, he's gonna sniff it out, like he's gonna need to know what's going on. He's gonna put his head in because that's what it does.
Right. And if you're like thinking like and here's what really drives it home is that like Harry going in the pensive in this book when he sees all the court cases, it's really interesting for you, the reader, because you're on the same journey Harry is to figure out who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire,
right,
or whatever. But like, as far as why would Dumbledore let Harry do this? That doesn't really make it like he doesn't walk away with any new information, or like he walks away with new information, but it's not like he doesn't have an answer. It's not like, oh, I'm going to secretly show you. It's just like, let me just show you the suspects. And it's like, yes, it's all the same suspects we already had.
Right.
It's like Dumbledore, like, as far as you reading the book, it's great exposition. It's a fantastic exposition machine to get you caught up. But as far as Dumbledore's purpose for Harry, the reason is to show the way in which Voldemort can like tear people apart. So he goes in and he sees 3 different cases.
Right.
Right. The first one is with Karkaroff, who was on Voldemort's side, and he's coming now to name names on the other Death Eaters.
Right.
Right. So this one is meant to show how, like, even within Voldemort's ranks, there is no trust to be had, even amongst the members who are on his side.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and we will learn even further that it's not even necessarily well known if all the Death Eaters knew who each other were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that one's not super but it's like, in case, if you're maybe, but it might be useful information that like you think all the Death Eaters are united under Voldemort, but they're not. They're all just looking out for themselves.
Right.
Kind of thing. Then you've got Ludo Bagman. He's just an idiot, and he is not on the good side or the bad side. He's just sort of there, and he is being taken advantage of by Voldemort in ways he doesn't even know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And you're right. Like, because this is just sort of like a public figure that everybody loves, and it's sort of like, I mean, even in that way, I always feel like Ludo has a little bit of the Gilderoy Lockhart treatment, where he it's like, maybe even like what he's doing isn't great, but like the people on the panel, the jury, whatever you want to call the people overseeing the case are just sort of like, oh, Ludo Bagman, you played a wonderful game last weekend against so-and-so.
Right. Yeah. He just gets off.
Right.
No problem. But he was still affected by Voldemort. And then you've got the case with the Bellatrix and the Lestrange brothers and Barty Crouch Jr. himself.
Right.
And the real takeaway I think Harry is supposed to get from Dumbledore here isn't, wow, Barty Crouch Jr. was a Death Eater. Maybe we should think about that more.
Right.
What you're supposed to be looking at, because Dumbledore he thinks Barty Crouch Jr. is dead, and he doesn't even know whether or not he was actually guilty of his crimes, because Harry asks him how outright.
Right.
So the real point in doing this is, one, probably to show him that, like, look, there's some crazy Death Eaters out there too, but also, maybe more importantly, that like Barty Crouch Sr. was considered a great wizard. He was fighting for the good side, and look how Voldemort made him turn on his own family.
Yeah. So and it's really like the Ministry at its worst, like,
right.
But like Crouch Sr. effectively is empowering his Aurors to use unforgivable curses, and basically like he's sending people to Azkaban with no trials, and he's taking his own son who's pleading innocence with him, as like he acknowledges it none.
Right.
He's just basically like, I have no son.
Right.
And it's like this is the dangers of what the return of Voldemort can represent, even at such a high level as a high-ranking official like Barty Crouch Sr.
Yeah, like
it's like
someone who was like one of the generals for apparently the good guys.
Right.
It's like Voldemort, even the people, he will bring out the worst in everyone, even the people who oppose him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And one of the other things I really loved during the read through that we had of as it pertains to the pensive is we kind of have this whole concept that the pensive has a brother, which is the
basin,
the basin in the cave.
Yeah.
But they operate in kind of like an interesting way, which is that they do almost have like an allure, like a magical like draw to them. And it kind of makes sense because like when you hear the whole backstory to how the founders originally found the pensive and it was buried supposedly like where they built Hogwarts Castle, like it's almost as if they were drawn to the spot where the pensive is. And the pensive is older than the school itself, which means that it possesses knowledge that the founders are probably able to use to further like do more with the school. Like
right.
it's an object that wants people to look inside of it.
Right. Like, I mean, and if you think like, yeah, because I mean, if the founders were able to then like learn magic from within the pensive, then it's like in a way pensive was like the first Hogwarts. You know, it was precisely. The original basin of knowledge.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. And I think that that's probably what you would have with the original four founders is like there was no formal education before Hogwarts existed. So how much, as powerful as they may have been capable of being, they didn't have the education that even modern day students were getting.
Right.
So it's like, where were they getting all of their knowledge from?
Right.
You know, it's like they're operating in secrecy. Like,
right.
So maybe it's like, this is the combined efforts of all wizards who came before them and as much information as they were able to distill into one space as humanly possible inside of the pensive. And it's meant to be found.
Right.
And so when Dumbledore leaves the cabinet door open and leaves Harry alone in there, it's like, it's no mystery what's going to happen next. Like, it has the power to draw you to it.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens.
Right.
By Dumbledore's own design, of course.
Right.
Yes. But then, of course, so those are all Dumbledore's like main goals, I think, for the book and the ways in which he is manipulating Harry into getting him to walk towards the path of like self-sacrifice, assuming there's no way that he's going to be like spared this situation because he is a Horcrux. Dumbledore already knows that because of the diary now. But then you have the Gleam, which is where things start to change for Dumbledore, where he learns that Voldemort has taken Harry's blood into his own body, and that means that Voldemort is now effectively acting as a love crux,
right,
for Harry,
which is a term that I think that we made up, but I mean, it always seems to fit perfectly for what we're going with. But the basic premise, and this is not theory, this is just the actual explanation, is just that Lily's sacrifice lives inside of Harry, which is like what makes Voldemort unable to touch him, like at the end of Philosopher's Stone, inside of the Mirror of Erised chamber. But by using Harry's blood to resurrect himself, then Harry's own blood courses within Voldemort's veins, and because they now have this in common, he is able to physically touch him, both probably magically and physically, but also because now he has Lily's sacrifice inside of him, which pertains to Harry's existence. So now Harry can't die.
Right, exactly.
At least not by Voldemort.
At least not by Voldemort, yes, who is determined to be the one to do it.
Yes.
Oh, he's so dumb. He's so dumb. All the time. So then, though, like just because that's in place doesn't mean that like that Dumbledore has won the day, that Harry has won the day, because he still has the problem of like Harry has to like mean to die, and if like Dumbledore like just whispers in Harry is like, just go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter because you can come right on back because he took that in there. Like there is like the extra layer of like Harry does need to mean to die, so he has to make this choice for himself, not knowing that he can come back.
Right.
That's the tricky part. So Dumbledore has to continue to guide him down the path to make that decision, even though he feels like there's a way out, but he can't tell Harry there's a way out, because if he tells him, then there won't be.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's like jumping out of a plane and not knowing you have a parachute, but you have a parachute.
Right. Yeah. He's like, look, Harry, I need you to jump out this plane, or the whole wizarding world, and maybe just the rest of the world, is going to be ruled by Voldemort. And Harry's like, I don't see how that makes any sense. Right. And he's like, there's more to it. Okay.
Seems like what you're telling me is I'm the only one who can stop him, and also I shouldn't.
Right. Exactly. Look, Harry, you're the only one who can kill him, and the only way to do it is to hit him with a supersonic boom. And like, I gotta tell you, we've timed it out perfectly. We're the exact height. The moment you hit the earth and Voldemort in your cannonball form, you've been practicing that, right? You will also create a sonic boom, and that's what can do it.
Sally forth, cannonball.
Sally forth, cannonball. We don't have a lot of time here, okay?
And now I'm just imagining Harry in like his like garb for the second task, just being like cannonball,
Cannonball! Boom! Just plummeting into the earth. Boom.
Yeah,
and
good
then
times.
then he like wakes up and he's like, what happened? And he's like, oh my boy, you did it.
My glorious boy, you're so brave.
But like he kind of spells it out almost directly for Harry at the end when he is giving the speech about Cedric, where he says, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy, remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. And I feel like he's talking to Harry. He's like, listen, at some point you're going to have to make a choice. And it's going to be between what is right and what is easy. And that choice is whether you're going to go into the forest or not.
Right. Yes. You are going to stray across the path of Lord Voldemort as someone who is what were the words again for Cedric? Brave and
who was good and kind and brave.
yeah. So Harry is good and kind and
Harry
brave.
is good and kind and brave. And that moment does come for Harry when Voldemort says, bring me Harry Potter or the fighting will again commence. And this time I shall enter the fray myself. And that's when Harry learns also that he's a Horcrux and he's like, I have to die anyway. This is the moment.
This is the
now
moment.
I have to go, you know. It would be easy to stay here and let everyone keep fighting and maybe we could win. But the right thing to do, because Voldemort has to be defeated, is to walk into the forest and just die.
Yeah.
And so he is confronted with the situation and he does not take the easy way out.
Yeah. So, and I think really like it's kind of like cap things off. I mean, it's like Dumbledore is in a very reactionary role through all of Goblet of Fire, which makes it such the case that like a lot of his movements are a lot more subtle, and kind of like gentle guidance.
Yeah.
But I think probably at the core, the thing that probably always helps Dumbledore is that like, these are the qualities that he knows are like what we're fighting for in the first place. So it's almost like everything that he is trying to instill into Harry, whether it be bravery or kindness or selflessness, it's like that is what we're like. It's easy to keep those at the core of your mission statement if you're Dumbledore as it pertains to the Great Harry Potter Project, because that is like what everyone should be entitled to. Like that is like what we want in our fellow human companions in life and society and everything is like people who are willing to behave in this particular manner, not people who are going to behave in the manner of the Death Eaters or Voldemort or Umbridge. You know, it's like it's interesting because I think that like at the very least, that whole core mission can be exactly what it is through and through, even if you're having to react to unusual circumstances that are always changing.
Yeah.
You know, so things like Harry's name coming out of the Goblet of Fire or the Dark Mark being fired at the Quidditch World Cup or the Triwizard Cup being Portkey or Cedric dying, you know, like they're all things that like you can always see him sort of migrating back to like the same sentiments, the same ideologies. Like it's like even if he's reacting in real time, it's like the way he reacts is with like the same mission statement.
Yeah. Yes. So well said.
Thanks.
Well said. Yes. But there you go. I think that's pretty much all of Dumbledore's big plan for Goblet of Fire.
That is it indeed. That is it indeed. Yeah. So it's gonna be very interesting going into Order of the Phoenix. We've certainly got a very cold and distant Dumbledore on the horizon.
I know. You get a lot of Dumbledore here at the end, and then he's like, oh yeah, he has a bit of a left turn here in the next one. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep. And so the really, really big thing that's going on now is that like because Voldemort is back at full power, I guess Dumbledore is going to be afraid that Harry will be used as an agent of evil. Because if Harry can see inside the mind of Voldemort, then maybe vice versa.
Right.
And how much more powerful ultimately could Voldemort be.
Right.
And it's going to really take full shape when Harry is able to witness the attack on Arthur Weasley, you know, over Christmas in Order of the Phoenix, where it's like, well, he was there. The only reason we could possibly know is because Harry was seeing directly through the eyes of Voldemort.
Yep.
Via Nagini, but still. Yeah. So lots of fascinating stuff to come. I'm like anxious about Order of the Phoenix because I'm like, there's a lot. Like, you know, like will we have as many moments for humor and fun and laughter.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
I think so.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've certainly found ways to have some good old fashioned Cedric jokes. So.
There's no doubt. Exactly.
And that's pretty devastating when it comes down to it.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway, do you have a review for us?
Actually, I do not. No.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
we don't have to include that then.
Okay. Yeah. Just cut that part out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I think then that brings us to the end, right?
That does. Join us next week as we dive into Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 1, Dudley Demented, here on Through the Gryffindor.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.